everybody out there in Facebook land. Whoopsie, hold on. Woo! Hello, everybody out there in Facebook land, TikTok world, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. This is going to be going live later on. And welcome to the show. I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions. And let's kick this off. As you can see, it is Antarctic Press Day. I did not put their logo up on TikTok today. And of course, it's never up here on Facebook and YouTube. And I apologize to Ben Dunn for that. But I need to carve out a little section up there where I can interchange Antarctic Press up there and put his cover title logo up there, Tomorrow Girl, which is what we will be covering today. Tomorrow Girl number 13. So far, we've covered Tomorrow Girl 11, 12, and 13. These are all upcoming press releases, comic releases that will be released into the wild on Wednesday. So this dropped yesterday, the Friday, the 28th. And as you know, my show are on the odd days because I'm odd, strange, and weird. But no, seriously, folks. I got to check something here real fast to make sure that I've got my red light going on. I do. I do have sound going on up here. Sometimes the sound likes to drop out and die and disappear and all that good stuff. But welcome to the show. I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions. And we will be talking Tomorrow Girl number 13. So they are 13 episodes, 13 issues into their comic series. New title that rolled out, I believe, last year in 24, if I remember correctly. Now, yesterday's PDF that Mr. Ben Dunn dropped off to me was 45 pages. And I have to complain a little bit, Mr. Ben Dunn, and unfortunately, because you already did a story. You've already produced one story that you had reprinted again. So within two issues of the book, you have put in a secondary story that has already been produced, that has already been printed. And that is the D.O.M.O Police. The D.O.M.O Police we introduced on, I believe it was issue number 11 of Tomorrow Girl. And I don't know why they reprinted it in number 13. So, but D.O.M.O Police we will not be covering today. We will just be covering Tomorrow Girl 13, and they have the Mystery of Section 12 in it. And then we have the final installment of Tractor Lad. It is the end of it all. The finale. The finite. So it was 3 comic issues long. And you could call it a short because there's not very many pages to it at all. But again, it's something that a kid could read. And technically all of the Tomorrow Girl and things like that could be done, could be read to children if you really wanted it to. I'm just looking this over because I did not really glance at. I mean, I looked at it, and it has some new pencilers and things like that in it. Um, Phil Miller is doing the artwork this time, and Antonia Retta. The colors are by Pilea and Lynn, and then a coloring artist Lawrence Guerrero. So, I'm going to kick off by showing you the Tomorrow Girl artwork for number 13 right here. This is what the comic book would look like if you got it in your hands on Wednesday. She's about to get trounced by some big dude. That reminds me a hair of Warduke from Dungeons and Dragons. I'll show you what I mean. Ugh. Right there. This little guy. Right there. This little guy right here in the corner. Just look at the headdress more than anything else, if it'll show you the headdress at the same fucking time. There we go. The headdress on this looks very, very similar as that guy. Put him back where he goes. Right there, right there. Alright, so we have a whole new unit fighting alongside Tomorrow Girl. The mystery of Section 12. This group is called Section 12. And it looks like there is 3 of them. Is what it looks like. Right here, right here. And Tomorrow Girl has gotten the better of herself on this one. And so, as we kick off on page 1 of the book, in the Superverse is what it's called, you've got fan artwork. It says Fan Road, artwork from our amazing Tomorrow Girl fans. And then it shows a little cartoon or comic book strip, and then it shows Tomorrow Girl, and then it shows another piece of Tomorrow Girl, and it's all fan art that people have sent in. And if you too would like to send in your artwork for Tomorrow Girl, you can send your fan art to apsa1987 at AOL.com. This is what I'm talking about. This is what you would see as soon as you open up the book. Right there. This little page, that is the fan road. Now, you're going to see the artwork is completely changed as opposed to what you've already seen prior to. Sorry, I'm adjusting my microphone here, folks. To what you've seen in the art in the past. This is more traditional comic book art over anime or manga style work. Okay, this is your typical superhero-esque look to a comic book. Just so you can see. And apparently she's got an all points bulletin for Section 12. She's being hunted by them. You see, of course, the cat next to her, and then you've got, she's in an alleyway, got a pallet sitting there. This is called The Search for Tomorrow, Part 1. So she's being hunted down by this group. And it says, meet Tomorrow Girl, possibly the most powerful being on the planet. She doesn't care about that right now. She just wants to go home. So apparently she's not where she's supposed to be. So she's in the alleyway and she's crying. Right there. Again, this is your typical comic book art. If you were to open up a comic book, this is what you would basically see inside of a comic book. This type of artwork. Now, we switch back to a manga style look. So I'm assuming this is where the other artist comes in to play. Right here. More typical to what we see in the manga universe. She says she was home. It was only a couple of days ago. But right now, it seems like a lifetime. So she's fighting some baddies. She's kicking their arse like normal. And there's the there's 5 robots in this picture. And they're attacking the city park. And she's trying to figure out why, but she says that doesn't matter right now. People are in danger, and I can use the workout. So she's using these guys as a workout to clobber them. The artwork is fun. The colors are good. So one of the robots has a hypnotic beam that kind of stops her in her tracks after she's thrashing all these guys. This one here. And she can't move, but she learns Professor Von Zoot is in the head of this one. And so he sends her to a different place. He's telling her his whole plot right here. I'm not going to read it to you. If you want to read it, you can pick it up right there. But apparently, he sends her again. We're going to get into that. As you can see, all this blue light is hitting her. She's frozen in space, in time. And he says, and I can find no way to kill you as I like. Instead, my device will push you into another time, another world, stranded forever, never able to return. You're becoming unstuck in space and time. Tomorrow Girl slips away, falling through time and infinite worlds. So this is the last time we see the manga style work right here as she's being slipstreamed through time. Right there. Until she splashes into the city park water supply. Right there. And then we go to the typical comic book artwork that you see in a regular comic book. And she sees her reflection in the water, and she's like, holy guacamole, everything looks so strange. Because she doesn't look like her normal self. Thank you for the likes out there. I appreciate that. We are going over Tomorrow Girl number 13, and this is by Antarctic Press. I am um, part of the initiative that is getting out new comics for Antarctic Press, and we are covering their Tomorrow Girl number 13 at this point in time, where she meets the mysterious Section 12. So once again, she's called into action because she sees a giant robot. And this robot got drugged in time with her, and it was going to harm a graduation class. And she ended up throwing it into traffic and destroying it. Not exactly how she planned, as she said, but uh, physics works a little bit different here as she popped the leg off on this guy. So again, you're getting to see some typical comic book artwork happening in this issue by a different artist, because Ben Dunn isn't doing the artwork here on this one. So there's a reporter at this apparent graduation. They're trying to figure out how she got her powers and all that good stuff. But then all of a sudden, she starts telling the story of how she got her powers, and we go back to the manga style artwork, if you will, and it tells you how she got her powers, and we'll let you know how she got her powers. On a distant planet, many years from now, a robot army destroys everything. As a last-ditch effort to save the universe, alien scientists shot a beam into space. The beam gave godlike powers to those it touched, in hopes they would defend the universe from the evil invasion. My family and I fight injustice on my world, ready to save the planet from an evil robot invasion. And it shows all of the Tomorrow people at the top, right there. And it shows the Washington, D.C., of course, the White House, right down there on the bottom. Again, manga style, cartoonish looking a little bit. And so now they're still questioning her about everything and talking about the robot right here, getting thrust into the limelight, which she really doesn't want. And it's being seen by Section 12. And there are more than just the three that I talked about. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 so far that we're seeing, with some pretty interesting looking characters in here, especially this one back here that looks like a werewolf with wings and a big old tail. So kind of like a bat, if you will, in a sense, mixed with a wolf. And now they're looking to get Tomorrow Girl in custody. As they take off after her. So the four mains, it looks like, are heading out to find her. They're trying to find her at all costs. And so the last issue, or the last episode, or last scene you see is a full page splash page. And she's still in that alleyway after they've already gone by. And she's still crying while the dude throws a bucket of waste out the back into the alleyway. Then we go into this Section 12 Seekers, and it gives you a rundown on each person of the group. And apparently she's part of that organization. The reporter that we saw is part of the Section 12 Seekers right here. And then we've got the stand-in, who is Dr. Ron Tyler, is the man with the disposable body. So apparently he can take a lot of punishment. He's the lead scientist for the Section 12 team. So here you go. And then we move right along to Batterson. Lieutenant Michael Batterson was a combat veteran and a decorated military officer. Towards the end of his career, Batterson volunteered for a top secret strength enhancement procedure using steroids. So basically, think Captain America on this guy, just with a gun. Super secret soldier program. Again, member of the Section 12 team. And then you got Misfire. Lucy Redgrave, a former Olympic gold medal gymnast, fell victim to a failed cure for a rare disorder, leaving her brain unable to produce neural electricity. Now she must siphon this energy from other living creatures to survive. This cure's side effect allows her to expel energy in bursts of strange electrical fire. As Misfire, Lucy reluctantly helps the Section 12 team keep other scientific failures a secret, using her unique ability to protect the public from dangerous experiments. First appearance was in Dilemma Presents number 1, 1994. So this group has been around for quite some time. This is Misfire. And then you got Nightfall, the one that looks like a bat melded with a werewolf. Teenager Armando Montez, once homeless and losing his sight, became Nightfall after a failed experiment to cure his glaucoma. Genetically grafted with animal DNA, he gained abilities from nocturnal creatures, bat wings, possum tail, wolf speed, and owl precision. As Nightfall, he secrets a unique fear-inducing pheromone, rendering his victims blind despite his appearance. He's cheerful and optimistic. Serving on the Top Secret 12, retrieval team dedicated to concealing scientific failures from the public eye. Again, Dilemma presents number 1, 1994. There is Nightfall. Oops, there we go. So I was right, bat, wolf. I just didn't know possum and all that good stuff in there as well. So then the very last part to that before we jump into Tractor Lad is Linovations Press on Patreon or Patreon, however you want to say it. When you become a Patreon sponsor, you help us create great comics like this one. Our sponsors enjoy exclusive content, behind the scenes looks, bonus merchandise, low price tiers, pay only when new comics are produced. Join us on Patreon and let's make some comics. Patreon.com, Linovation Press is where they are found. They produce Wild West Adventure, Fantastic Fanboy Adventure, Section 12 Flashback, Section 12 Declassified, and Section 12 Lost Adventures. So they produce 5 different comic books for your viewing pleasure out there. And you too can pick these up if you would want. Right there. All right. So, all in all, that was an interesting time travel piece for Tomorrow Girl number 13. The 13th episode. Bringing in some, I can't say horror elements to it, but with some of these characters in Section 12, you could think that. And all in all, it wasn't a bad read going through there with the fan art and then the new different style artwork going into a typical comic book look to it all. And then flipping back and forth between the manga and the anime or the typical comic book art. So it turned out really well for this book. The colors look really good. There isn't any of that harshness that I talked about in issue number 11 whenever you saw the front cover. And it was all nice and harsh layers in there. So, Tomorrow Girl number 13, The Mystery of Section 12. Again, this is a 45-page book or more, depending with the ads and things like that we don't get to see in the book itself. And then the second part in this book is Tractor Lad. As we know from his adventures so far, this is installment number 3 of Tractor Lad. And why they don't have a cover, like a comic book cover, to separate this out in the book, I don't know. And it's the same thing that I don't understand with the D.O.M.O police or any of the other ones that are in there. Why not have a cover that separates and shows you Tractor Lad, some adventure, kind of like you would on the cover of the Tomorrow Girl right here, to separate out the stories. I mean, it's easy to separate them out as you're flipping through the book, and it's like, oh, this is completely different than what I just saw and what I just read. None of the same characters and all that good stuff. But in my opinion, that's what I would do. I would put a comic book cover for Tractor Lad, for D.O.M.O Police, for whatever else books are going on in there. I would have a cover in there just like a comic book cover, and boom, I know that this is a separate standalone story as opposed to what is happening in Tomorrow Girl. But it's not my book. Been done. It's your book. So when we last left Tractor Lad, he had fallen, hurt his ankle or knee or whatever it was, and the bad guy was closing in on his location. Well, as we see in the opening section here, he's got him. He's trying to reach for that key that was the meteorite that he found. in issue, or in the first issue, or first installment of this. And so now that he's got him, he's trying to think of what he can do. And the bad guy's like, Tractor Lad isn't here to save you this time. Well, the kid thinks pretty quick. And, well, Cooper is his name. And he's trying to get the key so he can turn into Tractor Lad. And then he throws the map. Well, the villain drops him, runs after the map, and Cooper's able to get the key, and boom, Tractor Lad is formed, as we see here. Bum, 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 Tractor Lad right here. And so he's yelling, maybe it's time for you to pick on somebody your own size. And where did you come from? It doesn't matter. I got what I want. I'm out of here. And so Tractor Lad shoots a beam over to Cooper's tractor that is all dilapidated and not fit for anything. And he calls it Rusty, and Rusty comes through the cornfield, or wheat field, and he transforms it from a John Deere tractor, basically, into a John Deere dozer, as you see right here. So, at that point in time, he bulldozes the bad guy, which is this very last panel right here. Right here. And he bulldozes him over. And again, I like the play on it all. It is a good, fun kid comic book. So a kid, if they made this into one book and sold it to kids alone, kids would love this, because again, kids want to be the hero no matter what. And they say the line on where he gets clobbered under the dirt: the police will be here in a few minutes to transplant you to jail. And so, typical Scooby-Doo-esque, here we come, okay? Because how they always unmask the bad guy, and it's always this guy, you know? But no, it's, I've never seen this guy before in my life. Don't know who he is. The officer's like, we don't know either, but he'll talk as soon as we get him down to the station. And then Tractor Lad talking to the dad, who's out there in his robe, right there, being like, hey, you did a great job, thanks, you did all that good stuff for us. And then he's driving along in his big rig, helping dad out, get the all the wheat and grains put into his truck. And he began to feel strange, and then all of a sudden, poof, he's back to normal. He's back to Cooper, the little kid, not Tractor Lad anymore. So he tells dad that his dad doesn't know it's him. He tells him he's got to run. He said, okay, thanks for your help, Tractor Lad. And then he gets his little tractor off out of the way. Dad doesn't see. And then he turns back into his little John Deere tractor that's all dilapidated. And he said, whew, that was close. Well, he's asleep in bed, and his keys safely tucked away in its box, recharging. He said, that was so much fun helping Dad. Maybe I can lend a hand again tomorrow. With that thought, he falls asleep. However, not everyone is resting. Someone is lurking in the field, searching. And you see a strange light out in the field as well. Half of the field has been plowed, half of it still has the weed up. And then you see somebody saying, that strange light, it's coming from over here. And you see someone pick up, and it's obviously a female. you see her pick up a piece of that same glowing substance that he picked up earlier in the first part of this. And as she picks it up, she says, "What's happening? Tractor Lad isn't the only one with rainbow powers now. Who is his new companion? And will they use their might for good or evil? Join us next time to find out." But that is the end of that little caper right there. So now he's going to have a female companion or female villain. We don't know yet. But Tractor Lad is a fun little read. The only thing I would do, like I said, is I would separate this out with a cover story right here. I wouldn't just jump from Tomorrow Girl and the introduction of all of Section 12 and then boom, right into Tractor Girl. I would have a cover page over this showing it like a normal comic book cover, because you've got 3 issues in on the Tractor Lad. So why not have a cover for each of these issues as you transition between? And I know I didn't talk about these on the previous ones, but that would be my suggestion. But it's a fun little read. It's great for kids if you wanted your child to read this. There's nothing harmful in here. It shows the kid as the hero, and there is that element of danger, that suspense, that all that good stuff that you find in some kids' books. Not all of the kids' books, but in some kids' books. Now, the only thing I didn't like about this whole thing being 45 pages long is that the last story that I'm not going to talk about on this one, even though there's probably some new audience people here and things of that nature, is that D.O.M.O Police. That one was already covered in issue number 11. Here we are 2 issues after that, and we're reprinting the same story. So I don't understand why we're reprinting the same story. Um, that makes no sense to me, and so I'm not going to cover that story with D.O.M.O Police just because we've already covered it, and so I'm not sure why they went ahead and reprinted that story. But I mean, it was a fun little story. It was a little bit on the side to me. Um, the artwork was decent. I'm not going to say it was great. The artwork seems rushed in D.O.M.O Police, if you will, um, and and so with that, it, it's it's not that it's a bad thing that it's rushed, but there could have been more thought into it. There could have been more detail into it. There could have been more, you know, um, refining some things here and there. But again, not my book. I'm just giving you my honest opinion on it. And so, I'm not going to cover D.O.M.O Police again, as I've already covered it in number 11. So if you want to see that, you can go to YouTube and you can read that one. You'll be able to find it whenever it says Tomorrow Girl number 11, I believe, or covering Tomorrow Girl or whatever I put on it. Now, um, so there are 3 books inside of this book. That's why it's 45 pages long. Obviously, Tractor Lad is the smaller of the books, and then D.O.M.O Police is about the same thickness as far as how many pages are there on it as well. So Tomorrow Girl gets the main billing and gets the most pages, and that includes all of the introduction of the members of the Section 12, and then telling you where you can find their books as well. And they might be one that I look at, you know, possibly doing a cover for. Um, because, I mean, I think it would be fun to do a cover for them if they're willing. Like the cover that I'm getting ready to start after I do these 2 quick pieces. Um, but that's our take on Tomorrow Girl number 13. Very well done, very well received. Transitioning between the manga and the traditional comic book artwork in there. And I'm just looking here again, just because everything is very cool looking. I mean, it's very different to the typical Tomorrow Girl that we've seen so far. And like I said, if you want to see it, you can pick it up in person at your local comic book shop on the Wednesday. The what day would that be for second? The second Wednesday, the second is when it should be dropping to your local comic book store. Otherwise, I'm sure you can find it in PDF form on the same day if you go to antarcticpress.com and pick it up there in PDF form if you don't like having physical copies of your comic books. Me, with 5,000 plus comic books sitting right here to my right hand side, I enjoy the physical copy. I like the smell. I like especially the smell of the old comic books. It's like walking into an old bookstore and you get that musty smell of those old books. That distinctive smell. It not quite grandma's house smell, but I just like having that physical copy in hand. And if people will do, I wish Uncanny X Men would drop a cover of all of their 500 plus uh, covers, just like ElfQuest did on theirs, and that would be very fun for me because I'm a huge Uncanny X Men fan, as you can see, and I would love to have a book like that that collects all the covers of the Uncanny X Men, just like I picked up this monstrosity of a book. It's about 60 pounds. I'm just kidding. But this is the ElfQuest covers right there, from 1978 to 2022. Right there. That is the leader cutter from the ElfQuest series, and I hated this cover. This was my least favorite cover, with the basically superimposed armor over the top of Cutter himself right there on the back. I did not like this cover at all. My least favorite cover of them all. But, you know, Cutter is my dude. He's a pretty cool little elf right there. But Wendy and Richard Penny did a great service with that series and still do as it continues on today, um, in print form. And I mean, it's had its huge run from all over the place. So, but if Uncanny X Men were to do that with their stuff right here, all this stuff, all their different covers from the Uncanny X Men, I would have that book, even if it was 2 volumes. I would have both of them, and it's because it's just cool stuff. I mean, Uncanny X Men has been my bag for a long time. But again, that concludes Tomorrow Girl number 13. We're not going to go over D.O.M.O Police, which again was already covered in issue number 11, and why they would reprint that issue or that comic again, I don't know. Um, Maybe it was an oversight by someone in the printing department, or someone 100% doesn't proofread everything that goes out before it goes out. So I don't know what happened and why they would reprint that comic book again inside of the pages of Tomorrow Girl number 13 when it was already been printed. And I'm sure he had some other stories to go with if all is said and done. But here we are with a already printed book inside of Tomorrow Girl again. So that was my only disappointment, was not seeing a new story pop up in there, and we had the same old rehashed story yet again in there. And unfortunately, I mean, I guess unfortunately it happens that we end up with that duplication in there, and we probably shouldn't have had the duplication in there. But it is what it is, and so we don't have a new story to tell you other than Tomorrow Girl 13 and the Mystery of Section 12, and then the new installment of Tractor Lad that ended that run of the villainous guy looking for some treasure out in the field. So, but there you have it. That is our review. And I try to be as honest and forthcoming with these because I want people to do the same thing whenever my comic book comes out. I want people to be able to say, no, I really hated this. No, I really loved this. No, I wish this would have happened. No, I wish this would have happened. Because that the criticisms that you take help you build on to what you do next. And so, negative or positive, it doesn't matter. Um, because whenever you get those negative criticisms about your work, you just have to be like a duck in water. Let that water just roll off your back. Because if you hold on to that resentment that people put on your artwork, or, well, it's not that great, or, this, that, and the other, then you're just going to get bitter on the inside and you're going to not want to do artwork ever again. I tried something a little different with Ken's piece, and I'm not going to show you that because I can't, per se. And I used a traditional, my signature style on his artwork piece. I painted it up, got it out there nice and fleshed out, and then I put in my cross stitch hatching. Um, if I no, pull it out of there. Bum, bum, bum. I don't have a piece right here close that I can pull to show you what I'm talking about. But if you look at any of my artwork, you'll see in the shading area where the shadow would be, or where the shading is, you'll see my cross stitch hatching. And you can see that on any of my works on Instagram, Facebook, right here on TikTok. If you actually look at my work as it is in there, you'll be able to see that on my hand drawn stuff. Now, my paintings, I usually don't do it, but this time I intermingled the two. I intermingled the paint, the typical painting, with my typical hand done shading of the crosshatch, and it turned out really well. I was kind of surprised at how well it turned out, and he actually loved it too. So that worked out very, very well. And so I don't know if I'll ever do it again. I mean, it could be a one-off thing here, but if not, then I might do it again. But please like, share, and follow this broadcast so that you can see it all the time. I come on every other day, so my next day will be the 31st, which will be Monday, and we go from there. Oh, how's that going to work out? I just realized I might be going back to back days in there to keep it on the odd days, unless I go to the even days all of a sudden, because the 31st, being the last day of the month, is on Monday. And then Tuesday the 1st would be an odd day. And again, that's the days I'm going live right now, are the odd days. So it might be a switch up to the even days come April. So, but we'll see how that goes. How are y'all doing out there? Hopefully you're doing great. Hopefully some of you have liked what you have heard with the Antarctic Press 40th anniversary um, titleage of Tomorrow Girl 13 in the Superverse. And Tomorrow Girl is going to be one of those titles that continues going for a long time. I foresee, and that's cool because, oh, excuse me, Ben Dunn does some cool stuff with his work. Um, from Ninja High School to Gold Digger, which isn't his, it's another person inside of Antarctic Press. Tomorrow Girl, and the list goes on and on of the stuff that he does out there. But I look forward to continuing on this journey with them. It'd be cool, Ben, if we actually got some like merchandise and T-shirts to wear for our shows. That would be kind of cool. So that's a suggestion, Ben done. But I'm going to resubmit my Tomorrow Girl piece to him, uh, and see if he will print it into one of the books, because that would be pretty cool. And get some recognition for myself out there. But but yeah, no, it's very cool stuff to read and do. So if you haven't picked up a comic book in a while, this might be one of the ones you want to pick up. Tomorrow Girl number 13 that drops on Wednesday at your local comic book store from the Antarctic Press universe. Now you can pick up, I'm pretty sure, some back issues and things like that from AntarcticPress.com, and some of the classics, like I said, Gold Digger, and um, you won't be able to find a lot of some of their other titles. You might be able to find a few. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what all they've got in their back stock, you know. But it might be something to go check out and see if you even like it. See if you even like the Antarctic Press storylines. But everybody's in tight clothing, if you will, and but that's just your typical comic book superhero heroine esque type of situation. Is everybody wears these super tight clothing on a regular basis? I think there's only been a handful of characters that don't wear super tight clothing in the Marvel or DC or any other, especially in the Image. Image was just basically, let's draw the naked body and draw some lines and then put some color in here, uh, because the clothing was that tight. You know, you couldn't have squeezed a penny between the fabric and the body. So back in the day with Image Comics, especially with Mc, Liefeld's characters, I just dropped the lid. And but that is your typical superhero type stuff, especially from Image Comics and to some Marvel comics of today. As you can see, super tight outfits on everybody up in here, and but that's how people wanted it. They wanted to appeal to the male and female viewers alike. And but yeah, no, that's our review of Tomorrow Girl 13. And we look forward to doing this again next Friday, which will be the 4th. Friday the 4th is when the next one will drop. But if I'm going to the every other day, which would be the 2nd after the 31st, then we'll be on the even days, and it drops on Friday, which will be that Friday later in the day. And so I won't be able to do it until that Sunday, which would be then the very next day after that, or the next time I'm alive. And so that's what I'm looking forward to, is probably just switching it over to the even days, because again, that will be when the time frame would be for every other day. So again, 3 books in one. One book was already printed already, and I appreciate the likes. Lori, I thank you very much. And so you've got 3 books in one for the Tomorrow Girl number 13, and from there you get to see D.O.M.O Police once again, because they printed that only 2 issues ago in issue number 11, where we actually started with Tomorrow Girl. And so I don't know why the department would put that story back in the book again and reprint it again. It makes no sense to me. So that's something that Ben Dunn would have to answer as to why they reprinted that story again, just 2 issues later. But that seems like it was an oversight by somebody, or a mistake by somebody, to throw it back in there again and reprint the exact same story that was already been told 2 issues ago, and not have a continuation to that story, or even a new story, because that was a standalone story on that D.O.M.O Police. So, but yeah, everything else is pretty cool to look at from Tomorrow Girl 13, with Section 12 included in here. And then you've got, I'm trying to see if that's a registration mark right there or not. It's hard to tell for section 12. But no. Very, very cool stuff. The introduction of another group from another, not even inside of Antarctic Press. Lenovo Press. Is that their name? I want to get it right so that you guys can go check it out. Linovation Press. Linovations Press. Linovations Press. Linovations Press. So they're not even inside of the Antarctic Press storyline title. They are their own entity. And it's just like the last one, which was um, Megaton Man inside of here, which is a Don Simpson book outside of Antarctic Press. But for those two to meet up was pretty cool. And then for this group to meet up with his again is very cool as well. And so that I'm it's very cool that there are taking other people's entities and moving it into theirs and joining forces together, even if the group is hunting Tomorrow Girl in this book. Um, it's still awesome to have been done to help out a smaller press, and I don't know how many issues of Linovations Press is out there, but they have 5 different books, as we've already talked about, and for Ben Dunn to be like, hey, how would you like to be in Tomorrow Girl? And I'll let your creative team do the artwork on it, and my creative team will do some artwork in it. You know, flip flopping back and forth between the manga universe and the typical comic book universe as you see fit with it. Now, with that being said, then we'll talk a little bit more about Antarctic Press right here. I'm surprised they didn't do that typical comic book feel on the cover, but it looks like it's a Ben Dunn cover, if I had to guess. And it doesn't tell me who did the cover because it doesn't even have Ben Dunn's name on it anywhere. Um, yeah, it does not tell me who did the cover over here, but it looks like a Ben Dunn type of a cover, if I had to guess. Um, but yeah, it looks like a Ben Dunn cover. But again, oh, there it is. Ben Dunn right there in the very far corner left, hidden in the darkness right there. And Ben Dunn 2025. So yeah, Ben Dunn did the artwork for that, like I figured he did. So that's very awesome. Ben Dunn does some great work with his artwork. He always does something cool with it, and he's just very awesome dude. You should get to know him. He's on Facebook. He's on. He might be on Instagram. I'm not 100% sure on that. I just follow him on Facebook, and we chit chat periodically here and there. And I try to send in artwork, not just to be an influencer for his stuff to help him promote his stuff, but give an honest review of what I feel and how I feel about this. And I know I'm not the only one that's doing this, and so hopefully he is actually watching some of them. I know I send him a link so that he can promote it out there, so people can go to my YouTube channel and check it out. But we do go live on Facebook and Facebook up here, TikTok down here, and I actually need another screen is what I need to do. I need to hook up my other screen, get my other screen going over here, and that way I can pull up, keep my Facebook up so I can see if there's any comments happening out there. Um, but I know this is bright and early, and not many people are awake at this point in time of the day. Now it's 5 o'clock somewhere. You know, I get that, and this goes broadcast all over the world. not just in the United States, even though my majority of people that view, and I appreciate that, are from the United States. And um, but that's how it goes, and I don't mind. But back to my artwork, I've got artwork all over the world. I don't have artwork just here in the United States. My artwork has gone as far as the United Kingdom, to Great Britain. Uh, there's a couple other places some of my artwork has gone, but and that's pretty exciting and pretty cool whenever somebody contacts you and is like, hey, I want a piece of your artwork and this is where I'm at. Tell me the shipping cost. It's like, holy shit, okay. Um, it's going to be a little bit more because you are, and I've got to fill out the custom forms and all that stuff. So, international shipping and all that good stuff. But yeah, no, I appreciate the likes, the follows, and the people stopping in, even if it is for a brief moment. We just got done finishing up the Tomorrow Girl number 13. So if you want to go back and revisit this, you will be able to do that by going up here to my profile. And from my profile, you can find my website. From my website, you can find directly underneath this logo my socials. It'll go Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Directly underneath the 412 Productions, the Art of Monty Anderson logo, the little alien guy that Roy Joe Jr. has, Roy Joe Bradley Jr., who has named my alien as Monty Jr. But that's not his real name. I promise that's not his real name. And so uh, you can find my socials there. YouTube is where this will be rebroadcasted, as well as Facebook on both my pages, my personal page and my business account of 412 Art Productions there on Facebook, and YouTube is 412 Productions, The Art of Monty Anderson as well. But if you go to hit those links, you can like, share, and follow there as well. And I will follow you back. I periodically go through here on TikTok and take out people so that I can follow new people back that are more active and are happier to be here than other people. And let me see, have I missed any comments? Have I missed anything? I'm just looking, going back, see if I missed any comments right here on TikTok, but I don't think I have. Because generally it kind of alerts me whenever. Nope, no comments, but that's cool. I like to interact with the fan base out there. Next time we will be talking about those two uh, awareness pieces that I will be showing. I'll be able to show those. I've already shown the penciled version of those, but I'm hoping to get into the mess that it's going to make today with it all and have some fun with it. It is for a great cause. Chelsea Johnson does a great job with her awareness benefits out there, and she is a military veteran and a police officer and a good friend of mine. We've known each other for quite some time now, and it is just a cool thing that she is doing with this out there, and so it should be nice and fun. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make the event, but it is one of those things that it's for a good cause. So I am putting two pieces in it for people to view and possibly purchase later on. But I'm going to kill it for today. I appreciate each and every one of you being here, checking out the channel, and being an active part of my life out there. I do appreciate each and every one of you 100%. And if you need anybody to talk to for whatever reason, the number is on the YouTube and the Facebook up here, but you can call 988 down here or hit my DMs up if you are feeling depressed or anxious or anything like that. Please hit someone up that will listen. And that's part of what I do. If you need to talk in any form, capacity, or another, hit me up and we'll chit chat and hopefully keep you away from a ledge somewhere. But with that, we will, like we like to say on a regular basis, we will catch you on the flip side. Have a good day, everybody.